I don't remember at what point, but at some point I started actually developing a little bit of semblance of life in America. And I think there are several different things that made me finally make America my own culture. Like, I actually found something in the American culture that I liked and I made it my own, and it made me finally an American. When I first came back to America, the last thing I wanted to do was live in America. Whatever path could take me out of America was the one I would take. I saw if I finished college, I'd have a better job of getting better chance of getting a job outside America. So that's what I did. I went to college for the sole purpose of getting out of America. Somewhere along the way, I started playing ultimate frisbee with some friends, and not the sport, but the people in the sport helped me to find something about America that I liked. The culture of ultimate is very close, tight knit. It's a family, and I found a kind of like a these people that I finally had common ground with. I still hadn't watched the same movies. I still hadn't had the same experiences. I still hadn't gone to the same schools. The sport was so much fun that we would play it every day we possibly could. We would travel and play it. So we had travel experiences, we had play experiences, we had common friendships that we could share, and that really became my family. Was the ultimate family. Like, they were my life. One of the other things that really helped me was other kinds of sports, biking, volleyball, any kind of sport that I could plug my. I had never been sporty before that. Hated sports, but I suddenly found that I could have a common ground with people by playing sports, and I enjoyed the sports, and then I enjoyed hanging out with the people. Power went out. Um, and so then I finally found a common ground, and I could actually be real with these people. I didn't learn the language. I learned the culture, and then I could speak the language. I learned that trying to speak the language is hypocritical, and it doesn't make you a real person. So learning the language to talk about movies, or learning the language to talk about cars, or learning whatever language, spiritual language, church language, didn't really make you part of that culture. You have to be in the culture. So I found ultimate culture, and that became my language. And other sports. One of the other things that helped me was I finally found a church where I was felt like I was part of it. Then there weren't hypocritical. For the longest time, I had some friends who invited me to go on. My school called it extension. It's required time where you go to churches and minister. And the last thing I wanted to do was be a hypocrite. So I said, nope, I am not going on extension. I will never serve at a church while the school requires it. So I held out for like 3 years and refused to do extension because it was a hypocritical thing. Finally, one summer, when I wasn't required to do it and the school wasn't watching me, I was like, hey, I'd like to come out and help at this church. And I started going to a church called Sun Point, and helping out. And it was the kind of place where I could actually fit in, and they spoke my language and I spoke their language. We had the same culture. The pastor is African. The church was in the slums, or the lower district of Greenville. They had Hispanics, they had African Americans, they had older middle class white people. They had every spectrum of class you could probably think of in this church, but all of them were going towards the same goal. They wanted to minister to the kids that we brought in on this ministry. And when I don't remember if there was a specific time, but when I started going to this church and I started helping at this church, I think that's when I finally lost my depression. Like, I don't remember having any more days where I just fought all day just to get to my sleep. I actually started, and I don't know, enjoying things, enjoying people, and then just helping at this church, this kind of kooky, cracky church that had no structure. It was finally the culture that I fit in, and I helped out there for, I don't know, almost 4 years. I don't think the pastor even knew my name when I left. It was kind of a crazy place, but it was something where I could fit in. I didn't see any hypocrisy. I didn't feel hypocritical doing it, and I actually, yeah, I enjoyed the culture there. Between the friendships that I built outside of church and school, the non-Christian friends, and then the church that actually developed me as a person and was my kind of culture, I think I actually finally came to the point. What does it say? How do you feel about your place in American culture now? I feel like America is my culture. fairly certain that I'm not ever going to assimilate to any culture that I would call my own. Like America is mine, and even though right now I'm not in America, I left America pretty fast. I wouldn't mind living in America, I don't think. I think it's just crucial to find a place in America that is yours. If you can't do that, you're in a long, scary life of trying to avoid America. If you have an American passport, it's kind of difficult to do. You always end up going back somehow or another.